I have to get something off my chest. I've been trying to avoid doing this for quite a while. I've been wondering whether I should say this for quite a while. But even if just one person dares to have a look at this video and it makes them stop and think, and they start doing something new, then it's worthwhile me having done it. So this is like an act of faith. When I was 23, I became a Christian, and prior to that I'd been very, very anti-Christianity. But something happened and I had to do it. And I've never ever regretted it. It's been wonderful. It's been a great way to live my life. I know it's not for everybody, but it's worked for me. I'm 57 now. 56. 57? 57. I don't even know how old I am. And about 2 years ago, it occurred to me that even though I was a Christian, and by that I mean a believer in what Jesus did, what Jesus continues to do, I didn't actually know very much about Jesus. I tended to conceptually ponder upon God more than anything. Now, I was a bit confused and a bit concerned about this, not least because I'm not a regular church goer, although I had belonged to the same church since I was 23. The nature of my job, the nature of what I do, I work in music, I've been a teacher, I've been a busy mother, and all these other things meant that I couldn't attend church as regularly as I possibly as I should have done, although I don't think there is a should have done about it. Added to that, I'm in a family where I'm the only person that believes what I believe. So it's not as if the whole family can troop together. So to actually get to church was, for me, quite challenging. And for many years, it's been patchy, to say the least. And the result of that is it's easy to become isolated. You know what you believe, you know what you think you believe, but you're isolated. Added to that, very often I find that when you go to church, although there are many lovely, lovely people who are a delight, there are also people there that will seek to trip you up or not make you feel welcome, or you feel that you don't belong. But I don't think that's a problem. I think actually we need to embrace that and recognise that is an issue. Because believe you me, no matter how you feel when you go into a church, you need to be sure, you need to be assured that you belong there. You are as welcome there as anybody else. That place was built for you, for anyone. It doesn't matter what race, what religion, what background you come from, your financial situation, whether you think you are dressed appropriately, that is all superfluous. If you are there, you belong there, and you should not feel ashamed to go to church and belong there. Anyway, to cut a long story short and to get back to the chase, I realised that possibly I didn't know as much as I ought to know about Jesus. It was actually instigated, my worries about this, because I had a lot of Jehovah's Witness people keep coming and knocking on my door. Perfectly delightful people, perfectly devoted to what they do. Power to them if that's what they wish to do. But they were getting very, very angry at me because I couldn't agree with their viewpoint. I'm more than happy for them to believe what they believe, but I couldn't believe it. And then they started to get very aggressive with me and accuse me of blasphemy. And then, of course, it made me very confused. I didn't know. Was I thinking the wrong thing? Was I believing the wrong thing? So I decided, in my isolation, in my lovely old shed that I'm blessed to have, but you could have anywhere, a cupboard, under the stairs, a secret room if you've got one, or just a quiet space or a quiet time during the day, I decided to mount a bit of a study on Jesus. Now, I'm not a great Bible scholar, I'm really not. But I do have a Bible. I have an old Bible that I got from a cheap bookshop, and it's a bit worn out now. I must admit, sometimes what I read in there gets very confusing. But I decided I was going to start studying the New Testament, Matthew, Mark, Luke and John. Now, I started studying from the book of John to start with, the very first verse of the book of John in the New Testament. And the reason I did that was because there was a bit in there that was completely different and meant something completely different to the Bible that the Jehovah's Witnesses kept pushing at me. And it was that actual verse that caused me to start really studying my New Testament, and I started with John. But because I'm aware that Bibles have different types of words, sometimes different interpretations, they sometimes depending on the Bible you use, and there are many different approved, authorized versions of the Bible, I decided that I would also check out online. In fact, I actually wanted to get as close as I could to the original Bible text that was available. And I realised that in order to do that, I had to try to study the Bible in Koine Greek, which is biblical Greek. Now again, I'm not a big scholar, I'm really not a scholar, but I do like a language and I do like a bit of a challenge. And then I discovered there's this fabulous website that you can use called the Bible Hub. And I'm just going to click on it now to show you. It's free, it doesn't use cookies or anything, so there's not going to be prowling around looking for you. And it looks like this, and you just put it in to your telephone or whatever you want, Bible Hub. And up comes any version of the Bible that you want. The NIV, the RSV, the King James. It doesn't matter what biblical tradition you want, it's got it there. But more excitingly, and this is so exciting, I can promise you, so here is my John. I've got John 1 here. I'm going to have to move myself around a little bit so I can see what I'm doing. Sorry about the side shot of my nose. If you press on INT just here, look what happens. Quite slowly. Ooh, magic. What you get is, I'm going to show you that now. What you get is what's called an interlinear Bible. So you get the English, the literal English version of each word, and then in between, woohoo, you get the Greek. Well, it didn't take me long to get switched on to trying to learn to read Greek. Now, I don't do it very well, and again, as I said, I'm not a scholar. But it's fantastic, because sometimes you'll encounter a Greek word that sounds tremendously English, like psyche means yourself, your soul, your essence, and then you think of the word psychotherapist and all these other things. I've encountered so many interesting words by studying the Koine Greek. Even if you don't want to learn how to read it, you can use the interlinear Bible to help you access a really deeper meaning of the Bible. You can go deeper into it. And I think key to all of this is that you yourself are studying. And that's really important. You yourself have got autonomy and can study to the depth you feel you wish to. Now, going to church, for me, I love going to church now. But very often you can sit there and you don't necessarily learn that much. It doesn't necessarily touch you. It doesn't necessarily reach you. It's great to see everybody else. It's great to chat to people that get where you're coming from. But you don't necessarily learn a lot, always. I mean, I escaped like 20 odd years or so without really going deep into who Jesus was. And that was probably my fault, but suddenly I realised I needed to. And over the last 2.5 years, I've only just now recently got onto Matthew. It's taken me 2.5 odd years to tiptoe my way through John, Mark and Luke. I'm really starting to get closer to a really loving relationship with Jesus and a more helpful relationship where I am more open and I understand more and I feel closer. And I'll be frank with you, really frank, because I think you need to know this. I think everyone needs to know this. Sometimes when you have faith, sometimes when you are what for other reasons people call Christian, but for me it's more about Jesus than the label. So I follow Jesus. I think you could come from any faith and still follow Jesus, because I think that Jesus' teachings are so important. Jesus' insight is so important that it transcends religious labels. I think Jesus' words, his life, his example, his teaching is so of paramount importance that anyone from anywhere could learn so much, and it would ease them along the path towards loving God more, being able to love themselves more and allow themselves to feel forgiven, because that's what Jesus is all about, and become a more productive human being in their workplace, in their personal life, with their family. I think the closer you get to Jesus, I think the more liberated you are to live a truly full life. So I'm encouraging all of you, get hold of a Bible. I don't care where you go. Go knocking on your local church, even if you've never been there before. Knock on the door of that vicar and say, excuse me, I want a Bible. Because actually sometimes handling a bit of paper is nice. I don't always like online reading. I like to have a bit of paper because, as you can see, you know, you can do things. You can scrub and scratch. You can, I don't know whether you can see that. You can draw circles around things. You can underline them. You can. It's not disrespectful. It's helpful. Also, apart from a Bible, grab yourself a notebook. This is an old diary that never really got used. And every morning I write. Now, I originally started thinking that I was only going to study for about 5 minutes, because that's about all I had, 5 minutes in the morning. But now I love it. I cannot start my day without studying, and sometimes it is as long as it takes. Obviously I have to work, but I make it work. If I need more time, I just get up earlier, because it's just fantastic. It's so cool. The other thing I would suggest is look up the old traditional meanings, the Jewish meanings of numbers, what they traditionally mean. Now, the Jewish number system is really important. And when you read your Bible, you will find that there will be a moment you think, yep, that's as much as I need to read of that. That's where this bit ends for me today. This is where I stop. Count up how many verses you've read. Sometimes, if you have read 3 verses, it will deliver an extra meaning, a layer of meaning for you. The Jewish number 3 is Gimel. Now, I'm probably not saying it properly, but Gimel 3 is like a triangle, and traditionally is a stability. And in Jewish culture, if somebody was going to sign a contract, or if an agreement was going to be made, it was said 3 times, repeated 3 times, because that was certainty. It's also a mediator. It brings stability. The number 3. If you just have 2 things, it will flap around. If you stabilise it with a 3rd element, it will bring stability. So basically what I'm saying is that Jewish numbers are really interesting. There's a lot of meaning in them. Not only do they mean one thing read forwards, two things read forwards actually, they mean one thing read backwards as well. It's extraordinary, and you can apply them to understanding or getting a deeper understanding of your New Testament reading. Well, I mean any Bible reading, I think. Again, I might be wrong here. I might be completely misled. I am trying to get extra training from my local cathedral, and I'm trying to get extra biblical training, because the last thing I want to do is to mislead anybody. The last thing I want to do is to be an encumbrance or prevent people from finding out or getting closer to the truth. I'm encouraging you to get off your backside, pick up a Bible, turn to the New Testament and start to read it. And start to read it from the point of view of really getting to grips with what Jesus is teaching, what he is meaning, what he stands for, what he stood for then, what he stands for now, and what he will stand for all time. Get close to Jesus, because the closer you get to Jesus, the closer you get to loving God. And loving God is tremendously wonderful and is tremendously liberating, and frees you to truly live your life as you should be, and live the life you should have that God intends for you. I think I've talked enough now. I think I've wumbled on enough, and I do hope that I haven't annoyed you or made you cross. But if I have made you cross, maybe at least it might stimulate you to go and look at this to prove me wrong. I don't mind. I'm not here saying that I know everything. In fact, the more I seem to learn, the more I seem to realise I know very little. But it is a great adventure, and I would encourage you to embark, set sail, have a go. And remember, God is not intending to hide the truth from you. If the truth is the truth, then the truth is available for everybody. And I think that Jesus is key to loving God better, to drawing really close to God. And we really need to get close to the life of Jesus to be able to truly draw close to God and to have a relationship that we should. So be quiet, unlike me. Be quiet. Make time for God. Ask for help. Ask for God to support you in your journey. Listen. Read the New Testament. Check out any words that don't seem to make sense for you using Coin Greek. Go to the Bible Hub. Access that. It's free. Think for yourself. Trust that God will lead you forward. Write down what you think. Keep a record of it. And spend time every day. I find mornings are helpful, but any time. But I would say get into the habit every day doing this. It's going to change your life. It is going to change your life. It is going to bring you joy, because joy is what you were made for. Joy is what God intends for you. Go well on this Good Friday. Have a good day. God bless. Bye.